What makes a great programmer? Obviously, you need the technical skills of knowing the structure and syntax of the language you're programming in. But one of our industry advisors said to me, you do a great job of teaching the technical skills, but your college doesn't do a good job of teaching the employability or soft skills, especially communication and work ethic. As I mentioned, I've been teaching programming for about 34 years, and during that time, I've been able to see firsthand the students who are really successful and the characteristics that they bring to the table or develop that make them good programmers or even great programmers. Many of my students have gone on to have successful careers. Even before they got their associate's degree, they got employed. So what are those characteristics that make us successful as programmers? I believe some of them can be innate, but they're probably mostly lying underneath of us hidden and just need to be coaxed out and developed. I mentioned in the previous video that programming is really about solving problems. So great programmers are problem solvers. They think logically. No doubt Mr. Spock on Star Trek would have made a great computer programmer, sort of the ultimate in logical thinking. But if you like to do puzzles like Sudoku or crossword puzzles, or like to play strategic games like chess, Monopoly, or even poker, you probably have some analytical skills that will make you a good programmer. Programmers generally like to research. We look for patterns. And analytical people tend to have a knack to break down a complex problem into smaller bite-sized issues and devising step-by-step procedures for resolving a problem. Great programmers are also passionate about their craft. Oftentimes we think in terms of code. We observe the world around us and devise ways to make a computer program that can improve a process. We're excited about our work and solutions we help develop. How can you develop this? We'll sit down and think of 3 programs you might want to develop that can make your life better or someone else's life better. What would they look like and how would they function? Think big picture here. Not necessarily thinking about the code itself, but what could be accomplished. Does the process of creating any of these applications excite you? Even the best and most seasoned of us programmers experience bugs in our code or errors in our code. And it takes a level of patience, tenacity, and diligence to see a problem through to the end. Sometimes it takes hours to find that one little error in your code that might have just been a misplaced comma or parenthesis or a misspelling somewhere. Great programmers don't throw in the towel. If they can't bulldoze a problem, they find a way around it. This one is perhaps a bit harder to develop as it's more of a mindset than a skill. For me, I find inspiration in the accomplishments of others and also keeping track of my successes. And that inspires me then to continue on when I hit a roadblock. Since good programmers are problem solvers, they also tend to be resourceful and they also tend to plan well. I was enthused with the TV program MacGyver, in which the lead actor, Richard Dean Anderson, would find himself in some type of pickle and would see what was around him to be able to get out of it. He often resolved the conflict using a Swiss Army knife and whatever resources were at hand, whether it was diffusing a bomb with a mixture of household chemicals or rewiring a Jeep radio and teaming it with a hyperbolic mirror to thwart a missile attack. Great programmers are resourceful. Their code reference books are well worn. And when one approach doesn't work, well, they're quick to try another approach to solve the problem. In Visual Basic, we're using a toolbox of controls, sort of like building with Legos or Tinker Toys. I usually give my students in class the Tinker Toy Challenge, which I have them build a tower 8 feet tall in 4 minutes. And they usually can't do it in 4 minutes. And then we talk about what would be helpful in doing it. And usually they say more time. So I give them a second opportunity, but the second opportunity I give them less time, but I give them a 5-minute period to plan. And with that additional planning period and figure out how they're going to solve this problem, they're able to do it in 3 minutes where they failed before in 4. It follows then that great programmers are always in learning mode. They never stop learning and they never stop developing their craft further. The code I write today is much more effective and concise than the code I wrote, say, 5 years ago. I've been coding professionally for almost 40 years, and I'm always learning new techniques and mastering areas of software development that I've henceforth left unexplored, or are relatively new, or perhaps even learning a new language. My development tool belt is constantly evolving. A decade ago, I traveled to Boston to present our inaugural mobile app curriculum as part of a federal grant. And I included in that curriculum Photoshop. An industry advisor in the grant challenged me in my presentation that Photoshop did not belong as a required course in the program of study. My argument, though, was that we live in a visual world and we have to create user interfaces and develop user experiences that are largely visual in nature. And so it serves the developer to also be able to create and manipulate images, whether it be cropping them, changing the tonal values. We might need to create a visual button for an application. As programmers, we tend to use the left side of our brain, which is the logical and the analytical. But I think we're well served if we also develop the right side of our brain, which is the artistic and the creative side and the visual side. And certainly if you're going to be a freelance developer, you need to be able to do both. You need to be able to create a really effective user interface and do the functional coding behind it. By the way, that app developer who was the industry advisor called my supervisor as I was flying home from Boston and apologized for being so rough on me and said that as he thought about it, I was absolutely right that Photoshop did belong in our curriculum. It's been a part of our curriculum ever since. Our industry advisors are always hammering home the concept that the prospective employees we send to them need to have really good soft skills, especially oral and written communication and the ability to work in teams. Our employers view the soft skills as important as the technical skills. And from my personal experience, I once got hired for a technical consulting training job, not because of my technical skills, but because of how the employer felt I would fit into her team. She felt it'd be far easier to teach me the needed technical skills than it would be to teach a better technician the team skills or alter their personality. One simple way to build your communication skills is simply to talk. Talk with your classmates, talk with your instructors, ask questions in class. I've never understood why so many students would rather be lost, but appear that they understand, than ask a clarifying question. Neither your instructor nor your classmates expect you to completely get it. And you're taking the class to learn, and a key part of learning is to ask questions. Chances are that if you take the initiative to ask a question, your classmates are going to be quietly thanking you for asking the question that was on their mind as well. If you don't ask as an instructor, I simply assume that you understand everything I'm presenting. If you're scared of public speaking, I would strongly encourage you to take a communications or storytelling class or join a group like Toastmasters, where you can learn to overcome the fear and gain confidence in a nurturing environment. So there's my view on how to become a good or great programmer. And as I said, I think some people inherit some of these qualities or they come naturally, but I believe everyone can develop them. With the seeds planted, it's up to you to water them and to grow. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.